What is up, people? It is October 21st. It is 1 a.m. I believe. I want to start this off by saying I am not your financial advisor. Nothing I say on here is indication for you to buy or sell anything, okay? All this is documentation of my own trading journey. Now with that being said, I'm going to start this off by saying, as far as like all the investments go in the regular market, I don't see anything wrong with none of that. Can we get this like better reading on here? Hold on. Bear with me. Bear with me. How about that? A little bit better. Just like that. Bam. Bam. Okay. Good to go. Alright. You're gonna get a meme video later on throughout this week. Don't really see much going on over there right now. Now, I'm not saying that none of that stuff looks different. Just saying, you know, my money's still over there. Clearly, I still like what I talked about. Thesis hasn't changed. These price swings, all the stuff that's happening. I'm hoping that you guys have thought in your head at some point, like, hey, has anything changed? Has the thesis changed? If not, then, you know, what's the problem? Okay. What we are going to be talking about is Xrp, because they did just have an acquisition, another one, okay, and this one's actually, it's a decent acquisition, okay, but it paints a bigger picture here, okay. The picture is actually painting is the picture I've been trying to, I guess, get people to see for a minute, but it actually just brings it full circle. So it's worth to be talked about, okay? Because a lot of people that you see it, you know, you've seen a lot of partnerships about XRP, but I get how some people could be like, you know, this doesn't really mean anything, or you know, what's going on here. So I'm gonna try to break it down, okay? So I think I said it, but I'm gonna say it again. Evernorth is the company that they just bought, or not just bought, but it's like a new company. It's a SPAC merger. The only thing you need to know is they're about to go public on the NASDAQ, okay? And the ticker that they have is ACII, is what it is right now, but it's going to change to XRPN, okay? And what they basically are is they're going to go buy XRP on the market. It's a treasury company for XRP, just like MicroStrategies is for Bitcoin, just like BMNR is for Ethereum, okay? So understand that. My bad, bro. I don't know why I keep my fault. Okay, so I did write a couple things down. Just the way that I want to explain it is I want to explain it in a way to where it could be simple, and basically a way for people that aren't financially as literate, you know, to be able to kind of understand what's going on here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is basically what the XRP thing is, okay? How do people keep saying that XRP is going to make money, okay? XRP is going to make money because other banks are going to come and they're going to adopt it, and they're going to start using it for cross-border payments, okay? So you're hearing that, okay, but what are you saying? Well, the price is still da-da-da-da-da, and I've heard that there are banks that are using XRP, okay? They are, but not like how you think, okay? You got XRP, then you got Ripple. Ripple is the company who has worked with people that basically programmed and brought XRP about, okay? Ripple itself is a company that specializes in offering services to banks to get them to use XRP and other services that they have, okay? So with these banks that are using XRP, Ripple partner with them using their software, okay, what they're using is called Ripple Nets, okay? And Ripple Nets is a messaging system, okay? It's basically like updating your email. So the services, the stuff that a bank already does now, that same system, Ripple Nets, is basically an updated version of that system, okay? But it just shows them, so okay, so when they use their system, when they're doing international transactions, okay, what Ripple Nets does is it gives them that overnight transaction stuff faster, right? But it just shows them if the transaction will go through or not. There is no actual movement. It just shows them it just helps them do what they're going to do faster, but they have to do it with their old money still, okay? So they're not using any crypto. So you're not seeing any price influxes, or you're not seeing any price changes, is because you need them to use the ODL. This is the on-demand liquidity, XRP ODL, which is like the actual XRP liquidity system. Okay, so until they start using that, you're not going to really see a price impact like that. Okay, but that's why this conversation is important to have here. I keep adjusting this, man. You're gonna have to. It's been a minute. I had a concussion, and I don't know what the heck I did with my setup the last time I was out here. It messed it up. I'm really like, I don't know if it's OCD or what. But I like it to be like, I don't want it to look crooked. You know what I mean? We're just gonna go with that. I'll try to get this over with because it is 1 a.m. just like I said. Okay, so so just like we talked about, right? This is all gonna come together. So why are banks slow at adopting crypto in general to use them as payments, right? You get a couple reasons. One of them is because it's, for one, it's risky. Crypto payments, okay? So if I'm a bank and I gotta move $10 million overseas to this other thing, right? And let's say I'm gonna use Bitcoin or XRP or Ethereum, anything, okay? $10 million I'm moving. So if I'm moving $10 million of XRP or Bitcoin, right, and the price drops $1, you understand I just lost, I don't know how much money that is, but you know what I'm saying, it's late, I'm not gonna do that math, but just know that they lost money, okay? And that's the goal, is a significant amount of money. They don't want to lose money when they move and stuff like that, okay? They want it to stay stable. Now, the stable coin from bank to bank, not international, that's what that RLUSD, that's where that comes in, okay? But we're specifically talking about cross-border payments, okay? Because that's where the money is for real, okay? So risky. 2, rules, okay? So you don't have all the laws in place yet, especially mainly here in Japan. They're using that RippleNet software stuff already because they're, let's just say that we're moving slower here in the US. If you didn't already know, if you haven't been doing research on your own, our crypto laws are behind the times, okay? That was one of the key importance for why crypto is basically like a national security interest, because you don't want to get behind. It's the technology, and right now we're behind in our technology because we don't have those laws in place, okay? Which you already have the Clarity Act that's coming up again. You already had the Genius Act that passed. You really need the Genius and the Clarity. There's other ones too, but like not like a big bill. I don't think you're gonna need for that. You're gonna need these 2 laws to get passed, and then they have like committees that are in charge of making rules, not necessarily laws, just rules of the land, okay? And I think you get past your government situation that you got going on, okay? They get that one bill passed before Christmas or before next year, and then those 2 committees, I don't want to give you a time frame on that because it all depends on, if this is a national security thing, you would think that this would be like high priority, especially with as much money they have tied into this and the type of people we're talking about banks. They have a way to get what they want, you know what I'm saying? They get high priority. So if it's this type of law that they need to do what they're doing, I'm not worried about that. Even if this took 5 years, I'm still not worried about that, okay? So take that however you want. Do I think it's going to take 5 years? No, but I'm just saying, it's specifically why I'm making this video, because of this Evernorth. The Evernorth is a big deal, okay? So you get your risk, you get your laws, and then you also have this thing called, they're already used to what they're doing already, okay? You ever heard the phrase innovate or die? Okay, well, they have no other way of doing what they're doing right now than what they're doing, so why change it, okay? They're just used to doing it. That's just how it is. They're used to doing it, and everything else would be too risky to change stuff, okay? They're banks. They got their names tied to this stuff. You know, their whole brand is tied to this. If you ever mess up, you lose credibility. There's a lot at risk for them, okay? Risk is a big thing. Big thing. Notice that. Risk. All right. So the next thing that we got on here is basically Ripple. Why I invested into them, okay? Not the whole ordeal. I'm just going to tell you. I told you I invested into them mainly out of all the other crypto projects for a couple of reasons, but mainly because of the board, like the people behind it. They move like a heavy hitter company. They're smart. They have people on the board that are attached to big places, shady places nonetheless, but still big. Like these guys have been on, the people in charge of the FOMC. They've been in that. They've been in charge of like big banks. I can't go through all of it right now, okay, but just know that that team is smart. They're very smart in what they do, and one of the ways that you can tell that is they have like a 2-part plan is what it looks like that they put in place. There might be other parts, but right now a 2-part plan for this specific thing, okay? And one of those is they basically, what they did, okay, so Ripple Nets, you're saying these Japanese banks, right? They're using this RippleNet software, okay? But you're upset because why aren't they using the ODL? Da, 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 da. It's not affecting the price. They know that. But what they basically did was give them a free sample, okay? So I gave you an improvement in your tech that you have. You know, you're seeing what you can do. You're seeing, yes, this helps you out with your business right here. But then you're also saying, hey, I'm missing out on a lot of money. I'm losing a lot of money. And the reason is because they can see if the transaction is going to go through. They can see that they can handle all their stuff, right? Way faster. But they're not able to do it because they don't get to settle this stuff, move this money with crypto, okay? For a couple of reasons, but nonetheless, that was part of the plan. And these banks that are using, let's just say there's other banks too, but majoritively Japanese. And let's just say that kind of worked, okay? Because this Evernorth, its purpose is they want to have $1 billion to buy into XRP, all right? $1 billion open market buy on XRP. And their goal with XRP with that is, just like I told you with MicroStrategies, their goal is to buy Bitcoin and hold it, right? Bitcoin treasury. They want to be an XRP treasury, which is, again, is a good thing. They want to buy at least $1 billion worth of XRP and hold it. It's a big thing. Big buyer, big holder. Not big seller, big buyer, big holder. Okay? But they want to use it. They want to buy XRP and use it. And we'll get into that, okay? But that's the main thing there. But the real main thing is their institution, their basic, their investors to start that up. You know what I'm saying? Most SPACs are like $100 million. That's $1 billion SPAC right out the back. And 200 million, Chris Larson, one of the head people in XRP. There's other people in there. You got Kraken, you got Pantera Capital. I think I said that right. It's a P. Another one with a P. I can't remember. But SBI Holdings. And SBI Holdings is a big, big player in Japan. Not just, oh, we're around the corner in Japan and it's coincidence that there's Japanese banks that use your RippleNet software already. But like, no, SBI, we're connected to these banks that are using your software. And we know we eat lunch with them all the time. And they're talking about all the time, whoa, RippleNets. Okay. Clearly, the people that are using RippleNets like that software. And clearly, SBI is like, I see the value in XRP. If you connect the dots, if they see the value in XRP, that's because the banks in Japan that are now using that software, just the RippleNets, no crypto, eventually see the future use cases or eventually are leaning into using the actual crypto to take a full advantage of that software, okay? To where they can now get these services, right, cheaper. And when I say cheaper, I mean, I told you I tried to make this not financial literate, but when you're moving money, like old money, like with just regular money from international, you have to set aside like billions and billions of dollars, okay, in different bank accounts where you're at, and then bank accounts in the country that you're going to. And that money is just sitting there. That's just capital. That's just, you could say it has a purpose, but I guarantee you they would rather have that money working for them than just sitting there in one spot, okay? You use crypto, you use XRP, you don't have to have that money tied up anymore, okay? It's now free on the balance sheet. And also, it costs money to move money from place to place like that, okay? And I'm not gonna know the exact cost. All I know is that when you use XRP, the cost of that transaction versus using it with old money is now 99% cheaper, 99.9, basically free, compared to what you were normally doing. Okay, so you can see the attractiveness in that, right? So connect those dots. So clearly it worked, right? But like I said, old money, we got that. All right, so that's the use case for the banks that are using RippleNets, right? They're two-part plan for that. They're one part for that. Now the other part is for what we're here for. It's the investors at XRP. Okay, so that's where Evernorth comes in. Okay, so Evernorth, like I told you, it's a SPAC. By the way, trades, its ticker is ACII right now. It's $10. They haven't merged over to XRP in yet, but you know when they do. As far as what that thing will do, I don't know. The only thing I'm gonna say is, out of all the tickers that are treasuries for whatever crypto that they chose, none of the ones are, their stock price is not higher than the actual crypto's price. Okay. Now, what is that telling you? I don't know. That's just an observation that I made. XRP is $3. That SPAC is $10. Now, am I saying that price is going to drop to $3? Possibility, yeah. Or am I saying that XRP is probably going to go to $10 or higher than $10. I don't know. We gotta wait and see. You know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, okay. So what that basically does is, basically, yes, for investors, you're thinking, oh, cool, they're gonna go buy Bitcoin or go buy XRP, yeah. But what it really does is it gives rid of that risk factor that we talked about, like the volatility. They're not using XRP because they got to go buy it, this, and that. So when I told you that this company is different from other treasury companies, they want to buy XRP with the purpose of using it to lend to these banks. Okay, so okay, you got to send $10 million worth of $10 million over here to this country. Cool. I got $10 million XRP for you. I'm gonna lend it to you so you can use it. They're gonna make money off of lending. Okay, and what that does is, well, it does a couple things. Let me make sure I'm sticking to my guidelines here because I'm gonna go off, but I don't want to. Okay, so yeah, okay, no, we're on point. So what it does is it provides a safe and legal way for big money to come in. And when I mean big money, I mean big investors. I mean hedge funds, and I mean like basically Wall Street money that can now come and they want to invest in XRP. And what it also does is it provides stability, legitimacy, stability, and demand for XRP. All right, that's what that does. Okay, and safe and legal, we talked about that. Massive demand, yeah, we got that. So basically, if you can see this coming, it's basically like two things at once, like we talked about. On one end, for the banks, they get to do what they normally do, cheaper and faster. For the investors, it gives them a chance it's a safe and legal way for somebody to invest into XRP, and XRP gains legitimacy from a big investors. Okay, SBI is a big investor. Pantera Capital, if I got that right, is a big investor. $1 billion SPAC is a big deal. Okay, it just is. It's a lot of money, and the fact that you got somebody that's going to basically drive demand, is going to buy $1 billion worth of XRP. That's demand. Okay, it's gonna attract people in there. Okay, and it's like a cycle going on. The top, you got Evernorth, right? Over here, you got XRP. So what it does is it's going to the people, its investors comes in. It's like, hey, Evernorth, we want to put money with you. Okay, we want our money to do something. Take care of it for us. Evernorth's like, cool, I got it. Give me 10 billion. They take 10 billion. They go invest that 10 billion into XRP. Okay, and they now use this XRP to be able to give it to these banks to use to do their transactions. Okay, and these banks, when they're doing what they do, okay, when other people notice what they're doing and they're saying, hey, they're making money, way more money than us, and they're offering services way more cheaper than us, we got to stay competitive. Okay, we want what they got. Okay, so now what this does is it now drives more people to be like, hey, we want to start using Ripple Nets. We call it Ripple Nets. We're good. All right, now we want to use the XRP ODL service. Okay, call up Evernorth. Evernorth's like, hey, or they're like, hey, Evernorth, we got 20 million that we need to move around. Can you do it? Evernorth looks at his stuff. It's like, hey, we got 50 million XRP loaned out. We already have 50 million. We need more money. Cool. We need to go buy more XRP. Demand for XRP goes up. Okay. Now, when all this is happening, understand that there's a lot of things going on. One is it provides liquidity. Okay. And liquidity doesn't always associate with like the price of XRP. What it does is, like, when banks want to use XRP to do these transactions like this, they don't want to go buy XRP and then use that, okay, because it's going to make the price go all crazy. Calm down. Okay, I know what you're thinking. So how's the price going to go up? Calm down, okay? So we're talking about Evernorth. So they go to Evernorth. Evernorth's got the XRP already for them. You don't got to buy it. We'll just lend it to you because that's its utility. You don't have to buy it in order to use it. You can just move it on the rails that XRP, that Ripple itself has already set up. Okay, these companies that they bought, GT Treasury, Hidden Road, Evernorth, all these companies linked together to do what this is. It's catering to these banks at this moment until the U.S. gets on itself. Clearly, they're not stopping. Okay, and that Evernorth is a big deal because that signals stuff to Wall Street banks that it's time to go. Wall Street hedge funds, Wall Street, anything Wall Street money, big investors, huge. Okay. So Oh my god, make sure I'm not sorry. Yeah, no, we're actually at the right point. Okay, so you're thinking, so liquidity, that's what it was, right? Still recovering, okay? Way better, but still recovering. I get lost sometimes. So, um, the liquidity, high liquidity just means it's able for them to get in and get out, like use that better than what they could before without affecting the price that much. Now you're thinking, well, if they're not trying to affect the price that much, then it's not in their favor for XRP to be at a low price. Wrong, because that is, and that is perfect, okay, for right now, because that has been a thing that a lot of people couldn't address because they couldn't see it. A lot of people just got to see things. I keep trying to tell you, like, it's besides the point. People say that you can only see, there's 99.9% of things that